Welcome to the Friendly Geordies podcast. A brand new week with a bombshell news story.
UFOs.
No, close enough. And we've got to be careful when we talk about this. As we're on the main pod. If it was the upload, you would hear a different flavor variety.
We can be
and
egregious.
you just might if you sign up to the upload.
Alan Jones has been arrested for
I heard that.
indecent assault, allegedly touching non-consensually. Up to the complaints have come from up to 9 individuals.
Okay, so we're, 3 sentences into this podcast? You're really going in raw, aren't you, Ali?
I mean,
Defamation
you gotta start
pod.
where it starts. So, I don't know how, okay, so firstly, one of the questions is,
Yes.
it seems like these rumors had been floating.
I mean, look, he's pulling an Alan Jones right now.
Did you, wait, dude, did you actually flash?
No,
He got close.
I didn't.
Can't flash.
I
bro.
didn't.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I'm not. Relax.
This is the day and age where Alan Jones gets caught. If he gets caught, you have no protection at all.
I know. I mean,
Just this
I
thin
didn't.
road
Relax,
between
relax.
you and cancellation. You like living dangerously, don't you? You and Alan to get on like a house on fire.
More wage than one. Look,
Yeah,
Alan.
had you
Yeah,
guys
you've been
heard
to the
about?
toaster, haven't you?
Had you guys heard about the unsubstantiated rumors at the time?
Yeah, well, they've been unsubstantiated in rumours for about a year, haven't they?
A year? I can't.
He's getting closer.
I'm not.
He's getting really close.
Relax.
Oh, I don't know if I can relax.
Just
This is not a relaxing situation for anyone but you in your robe.
Anyway,
You have to tightrope across this very spicy segment while someone, for no reason,
No reason.
is doing what you
There's
could go
a
to jail
reason.
for.
All right, well, we'll get to that
Okay,
later.
we'll get to
We
that later.
probably
But-
should have explained why Mislav is in a robe without the little rope around him. We should have.
I wish the rope. I'll tell you about the rope. I had the rope. I was like, I won't need it. Which is in.
Oh my god! And I'm sorry. All right, I just need to show everyone visually how Mislav came here.
Be careful. You're not going to get it through.
Wait, what?
Oh, God. How?
Why are you showing me
Hey, he's done
this?
it. I'm healthy. Sue me.
Why?
Would you like to
Jesus.
explain to everybody
Yeah.
how you got here on this wearing that?
Listen. If I can't get to, if I can't,
You're not wearing underpants.
If I can't get to Bali, then Bali can come to me. All right.
Mislav, were you riding around in a robe with no protection on a bike?
Is that illegal?
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think it is.
I love that.
I think it is.
He wore a robe, but he still also wore the hat because he didn't want to feel too naked.
Yeah. And the Bunnings hat.
That's a cool hat, though.
Miss,
Yes.
don't sidestep the question.
I may or may not have, ridden here in said robe. That's for me to know and you not to know.
I don't know how you did it physically. I don't know how it didn't get caught in the gears and it came off and you flashed because we are in a predominantly Asian neighborhood.
Yeah, everyone's too polite.
They
here.
like walking around in pajamas. The difference is their pajamas have elastic on them. And you know what Asians really don't like? Nudity.
Oh, I thought you were going to say naked Chechnyan warlords.
Oh, yeah, they hate that especially.
That's so scary.
Everyone hates that.
It's funny because
That's way scary. I'm telling you now, you could win the Ukraine war just by wearing what Mislav's wearing now.
really.
Yeah, because Russians
All
are
right, Miss-
extremely homophobic.
Miss, you may as well now tell us. Let's leave aside the biggest news story of this
Yeah,
year.
okay, let's do
Keep
that.
that aside.
Yeah, all right, all
we
right.
don't need to talk about that.
No.
No. Now we talk about Mislav and why he's wearing a robe. Let's do it. Go.
All right.
bro.
It's
As
not.
usual, derailing the big issues.
It's the most pathetic reason. It's just my life. What do you think? You'll know in a second. Just guess. You'll know. You'll guess.
I'm going to guess
It's
that
it's
shirt
sad.
that you have been wearing, if you haven't listened to recent podcasts, we noted that Mislav has been wearing the same shirt for 4 days, and he was fervently defending that.
No.
saying-
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right. But
he was saying there's nothing wrong with wearing the same shirt for 4 days.
I did say that.
And I'm guessing that shirt got too sweaty for you. Especially because you did ride to Wollongong recently, and I am sure that you didn't change your shirt.
Wait, no, I think I know what it is. It's a Tuesday and you're gearing up for the weekend.
It's the weekend somewhere. And I don't think it is either. I think it might be Monday somewhere. That's it.
On Jupiter.
No, boys, it's just the sad reality of a man that I don't even know what the explanation is.
Of a sex-addicted orgy attendant.
You know what? This is so sad.
His new book is called Life of Fatuli.
This is what my life is, right?
Go to Epstein's Island a lot.
I've for some,
And they don't let you in.
Yeah, you're too
It is
indecent.
Epstein's Island. And not
This is a respectable place.
yeah, exactly. Please put something
I'm
up.
sorry, are you not wearing shoes?
if you have less than $500 in your bank account, you can't swim here.
And you're getting
How did
closer.
you get there?
You are
It's an
getting closer.
expensive place to go.
He swam, dude.
I don't think you have the connections to pull a private jet.
The Croatian swimming jeans.
And you are getting closer. So my Instagram feed, which I'm blocked out of it most of the day, but then sometimes I go in, and it's basically a mix of people who have really, I mean, they all have no business contacting me, but just random, I don't know, just randoms being like, I'm like, this is pointless interactions, and I get a lot of people threatening. Well, one person threatening to bash me, which was like, how good's this? You're gonna love this. A guy messaged me. We might as well talk about that too. We'll talk about that after this.
Fine, yeah, all right.
Talk
At
about that
some
after
point
this.
in this podcast, we might talk about Alan
No,
Jones.
yeah, at some point. But
Amongst other topics
Yeah. But so
we're
his
prepared for.
So here's
unlike this one.
I stole the show. So this dude, I'll tie it into it, but basically this dude
It's just Trump. He's like, it's a weave. I'm going to get back to it.
I'm weaving.
It's weaving.
So it's
Let the man weave.
so
Only a few people can do it.
Only a few people can do it.
I've had English scholars look at me and they think, wow, how does he do it? And I'm telling you, the answer is partial nudity.
You got to be very smart to do it. You have to be
very
very,
smart.
very smart.
Very smart
Because
to
not
do it.
only do you have to go away, but you have to come back.
It's me.
The thing is, what he's talking about isn't that smart.
No, dude, nothing
Everyone
that he's
does
ever
that
said
when they're
is
in
not
conversation.
smart.
Mislav's doing it right
doing it
now.
right now. I'm not
He
even
doesn't even
trying.
know he's weaving.
yeah.
Me and Newt Gingrich, definitely not Jeb. Low energy Jeb.
So this guy wanted to bash me, to which I responded and said, sweet man, meet me at midnight in Sylvania at the Macca's. I'll be there. And then he was like, why so late? I'm like,
He's not getting the sarcasm.
but basically,
Imagine if he was just at a Macca's in Slovenia.
yeah.
That's what I was saying. He should have pushed for it and said, you're a coward. Meet me there
Yeah,
at
he
12.
can't say that.
And then when he takes a photo and says, that's Sylvania Macca's, you say, I was there. I was there. You didn't come meet me. You're a coward.
But anyway, listen to this. He wants to beat me up. Get this, because I'm too much of a lefty pinko.
Dude,
Mislav.
tough times, bro. I feel you.
Me.
I mean, you are literally wearing a pink shirt.
Yeah.
You are a
Yeah.
lefty pinko by definition.
Yeah,
you
I know.
can't say this about this man here.
no, I
Dude, like,
really
you know,
don't think that's fair.
Just as a side note, I want to weave myself. When you call lefty leftards or whatever, just be like,
That's what I was
"You're
getting,
stupid."
leftard.
PC culture is going. They just say you like, I'm gonna cancel you. I'm never gonna talk to you. You're no more of my friend. And we're like, oh, what a piece of shit. But when right wing, dude, they get intense. I will beat you up.
Yeah. I will bash
Like,
you.
And then we say, well, there's crazies on both sides.
Yeah.
But one is way more intense. Dude.
It's
It's
so
not that, like, what are you talking about? He is shaming Mislav for his political views.
And
He
Mislav-
is cancelling him.
And Mislav is literally a card-carrying member of the Proud Boys.
He wanted to get the tat. The only reason he didn't is because of laziness and chronic ADD.
Like, imagine if I opened my mouth in front of that guy.
it's insane that he reached out to me and been like, "You are the biggest lefty pink." I'm like, "What? I don't understand."
You do realize I wear a cross around my neck.
Exactly. But anyway, so the kinds of people that contact me are those people and randoms that propose I do dumb things for money.
So what's the bathrobe about?
Guys pay me $100 to do it.
Who?
Some random.
Well, you're doing this for money?
Yes, obviously.
Is this
Oh my!
one of those
God.
gays?
No. It's just some random who I don't know who it is. It's a human being.
Is you sure that you're not getting your own 12 o'clock at Sylvania Macca's here?
Well,
Maybe he's just making you wear a bathrobe.
he's done it before. He's paid me before. Remember once I had that crazy mow? He was like, shave your mow and I'll pay you like $50. He did it.
Wow, he's a man of his word.
Yeah, he's a man of his word.
Man of his very
Well, you don't
silly
have to
word.
be that much of a man of your word.
I
that
know.
You,
But this is the thing.
I guess I have no option. I'm going to have to flash everyone else
But here's
who
the
would
thing.
literally pay me not to.
But here's the thing. I
Like
thought
such a dangerous game.
I know it's so pov, but the thing is,
I need the money.
yeah. Well, this is what I thought about. Right? I was like, dude, $100. Like that's like. Well, that's like 5 hours work, right? 4 hours work, $20 an hour,
something like
10,
that,
20,
yeah.
You know, that's like minimum wage now. But it's like, come on, I'd be an idiot to not be paid to literally relax.
He does raise a good point.
I know it's shameful. It's shameful, and I tell you what, if he doesn't pay, then you're kudos, young man.
Everyone's
You
saying-
showed me.
Showed him.
Dude,
I
the
just-
comments are saying minimum wage for this is not good enough.
Yeah.
Up your rates, please.
Someone said I'll pay you $150 right now to put the clothes on. I don't know you. You haven't got a good enough track record. All right.
You
Someone
just
move
want to
the
wear the robe,
bicycle.
don't you?
Yeah.
It was just a bonus of getting paid.
So the
Um,
camera focuses on us instead of a random bike. Just in the frame for no reason.
Yeah, I'm a dancing monkey. I'm literally a dancing monkey. Please put clothes on. Does that mean the people who want?
I
you
guess
to-
now you have to dude, here's another lesson for you, miss.
Yeah.
If you charge someone for a service, you better pull through with the service.
Okay. Can I reveal?
Now you have to be a man of your
Can I reveal if there is anything under?
No.
Do you
I-
trust
no.
me?
No. I don't
Okay.
trust a man who rode a bike on a dressing gown. That
Look,
is weird
I won't look.
Miami fried brain
All-
thing to do.
All I'm going to say is, you have not too much to worry about.
He's really not leaving much to the imagination.
I'm not going to. But don't freak out too hard when I cross my legs because I've got them on. Because I did ask the guy. I said, undies on or off, and then he said something like you can reveal at the end, and I'm like, but these guys, I don't want to add to the anxiety.
He's like a full-on hooker now.
I'm a hooker. This is
Would
pathetic.
you,
This is
honey, would you like undies on?
Who's got the vape? Honestly, this
'Cause
is
I can
life.
do both.
Inflation's bad, man. This is reality. All right. If someone's gonna pay me, would you do it? You'd do it for $100.
No. No, I wouldn't do it
Oh,
for
fair enough.
$100.
You wouldn't.
Oh, I'd do it for the meme. I'd do it literally
you
for
do it
no
the
money.
meme. Yeah, exactly. The meme.
No,
I'm not
miss,
a
I wouldn't do
whore,
it for
Mislav.
$100.
Huh?
I wouldn't do it for $100. It has to be more than that.
Yeah, I could have gone more.
Not that like I would
What are
imagine
you going
no
to
one
bargain it
wants
to? 120.
150.
150?
He'd be like, no.
Well, someone is offering you 150 to put clothes on.
I don't believe him. This guy's got a good track record.
That's true.
You can't just go willy nilly, you know.
All right.
I think you're literally going willy.
It's true. Anyway, back to Alec Jones.
It's making me so uncomfortable that we're talking about Alan Jones while you're in a bathrobe.
It is a bit weird. That is a bit weird.
But anyway, all right. So, first
$500
question.
I would have done
Mislav,
it.
do you know who Alan Jones is? Have you been touched by Alan Jones? You're going to add to the accusation.
Not that I know of. I'm not. I tell you what, I'm not surprised though. Didn't he get pulled up in London for doing
Dude,
something?
can I ask a question? This is not related to Alan Jones. So just to preface, I am not referring to Alan Jones. I'm just answering a general
Let's
question.
just call him A. Jones.
Why are all of these like old-timey conservatives that are against gay LGBT culture closeted homosexuals? Can someone answer this question?
Don't know, but I do think...
Like, for example, if I am, let's say, like, if I'm like secretly Muslim inside, right? and someone was coming up to me and being like, Muslims are too much, we got to get rid of them all, I'm just going to be like, hey, let's calm down a little bit, guys. They're just regular people like us.
No, you're going to go the Chris Pine method.
So what so I'm like, why are you on one end, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, why are you against yourself? is my
Yeah,
question.
there is I don't know. It is like that. It's like,
Well, I think it is like kind of like the witch trials. You have to point out how much of not a witch you are. That's the mental framework that they're going through.
what exactly?
I think that it's also, this is something that's quite interesting about ye old times. So, I don't know, I'm guessing 1000 AD to 1600 or something. The deal sort of was, this is why there are so many pedos in the Catholic Church to this day. It's usually the place where society had this sort of bargain with the people that weren't heterosexual of this community, that, look, if you practice whatever isn't heterosexual at the time, you will be hanged for it or whatever. Here's the deal. You go be a priest, which sort of it proves that you are celibate for the rest of your life. We kind of know, because even back then there would have been people with gaydars. We kind of know that you are gay. But you're a priest, so you're not touching anyone, so we're just going to turn a blind eye. And you're doing the job that nobody else wants to do.
Oh, that's
because,
right.
you know?
Jeez.
So that was kind of the bargain that was made.
Really?
That was the bargain that was made. And so I think that it has always been seen as a refuge for the sexual proclivities that you're trying to deny, that you move into that realm. And I think that that's pretty similar to what is that ethos that runs through old school conservatives when they are clearly raging homosexuals. I mean, Alan Jones can try and hide the gay voice, but it's there.
So he's never admitted it.
Huh?
He's never said that he's gay.
Never once.
Alan
Even
Jones-
now, he won't.
Is he,
He'll go to the
is he
grave.
married?
No. And you know why?
Just say.
Classic in the closet point. I'm just so busy, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if you're a heterosexual guy,
You make
will
time.
make time.
You make yeah.
In fact, you will struggle to find time for anything else.
Yeah. There you go.
What is the purpose of time?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
my
I think that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's insane. But look, man, like, you know, when it's one person, two people, you go like, damn, you know, he was a leader of a movement. He made some enemies. When it's 9, you're like, okay, I'm gonna.
Can't all be lies.
Okay, so like,
He couldn't have done it to all of them.
That is always my thing when it comes to sexual assault allegations. If it's one or two people, I think, look, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I do understand. I know this from talking to a bunch of lawyers that people do pull out the sexual assault allegation to ruin someone's life. That happens.
right.
That definitely happens. So when that happens, I'm always like, look, I don't want to get involved. Let the police matter. But when it starts getting into the teens, when it starts getting the 30, 50 people,
yeah.
it can't all just be an
No.
attention grab.
And
it
it's-
can't all just be vendettas getting scored.
And it's a lot. How many? Is it kids?
No, it's like
No,
one.
they keep
No.
saying
For record.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, we don't know the identities, and neither should we speculate on the identities. But they're saying one of the 9 was 17 at the time of the alleged offense.
Right.
So is it 9?
I really chose the wrong
9
pod to
people
wear
in
it.
total.
You really chose the wrong pod. Yes, disgraceful. What has happened to the moral fabric of our society? Now, do I have to wear undies or not? It is a perfect metaphor for Alan Jones's career.
I
A
did.
man in a bathrobe sitting on a radio show,
Yeah.
constantly
Disgraceful.
moralizing.
I heard
James,
it
you should be
sa-
disgraced. You should. Oh God.
It's gone up and
My robe's come undone.
I heard a testimony from one, like not from the horse's mouth, but a journalist recounting of their conversation. This person was allegedly working for Alan Jones, possibly as their driver or someone in that capacity. And while they were dropping them home, Alan Jones, to their Circular Quay apartment, again, allegedly there was groping in the lifts. And when they were asked, why didn't you report this? Because this is from like mid 2000s or early 2000s, this offense. And they were like, Alan Jones was literally more powerful than the prime minister.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, like, who's
Right.
gonna believe me? And I just felt it was better if I just let it go. And another testimony from someone, again, no identities, nothing. I don't even know if it's the same person who said this or a different person, said that all they want to get out of this is for Alan Jones not to have a state funeral. Before he dies, I want people to know
Damn.
what he was like.
Shit. Yeah.
Man, that guy should have stayed in the UK.
Well, oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why he came back.
Alan
I
Jones.
just chuck a Christopher Skase.
Didn't he get done there too with some charge?
Yes. See, this is the thing that I think is as corroborating as you can get without it being evidence.
Yeah.
My dad remembers this vividly. In the 80s, it came across the news. Triple M, Channel 9, they're all reporting it. Alan Jones caught in a bathroom in the UK using a glory hole
Jesus.
with some male prostitute.
Right.
Got arrested for it for indecent exposure or whatever it was.
Misdemeanor.
Something, having sex in public.
Yeah.
Something like that. Halfway through the day, completely off. Nothing. Not a word of it. Disappeared into the night. He really was powerful.
Damn.
I wouldn't be able to pull that shit if that was me.
How the
Oh,
hell?
dude,
I'd still be
absolutely
talking
not.
about
Even
it.
in the UK is powerful?
Dude, he was
No, I'm
more-
sure it was reported in the UK,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the thing is, in the UK,
Oh,
who is
right.
he?
But that's what I'm saying. But this happened in the UK.
Yeah.
Dude, but the idea, okay, think about it from their perspective. An Australian tourist found using a glory hole.
That is
Most
allegedly famous
unremarkable
there.
Yeah.
Story
yeah,
ever.
yeah. Right. But
Well,
you're saying
in Australia, it's not an Australian man. It is the
Alan
most powerful
Jones.
man who
uh,
calls all elections.
yeah.
Like that's
There is
that's
a
ridiculous. Which is why everyone's still afraid of him. Chris Mintz came out and he was afraid. He was like, I know everyone wants me to have a comment, but it would be very inappropriate for me to have a comment
Yeah.
at this moment. This
I
matters.
don't
at the
even know
courts."
that is him being scared of him. I think that is what a premier should say about anything that is alleged, ever. Doesn't
Right.
matter how real your so-called evidence is against this clearly innocent man. Doesn't matter. You should, if you are premier, if you are any public official, your line should always be, let the courts decide.
Okay,
But
well,
we
we,
never
do,
comment
we
on
should
that
we
stuff.
should give the other side of the story. So some people like Peter Credlin has said that this is
a smear campaign.
Well, Peter Credlin weighed in.
let me just say what she said
This is a
before-
smear campaign.
because we
against you.
should give both sides, because obviously these are all, there is presumption of innocence. None of this has been proved as yet. Peter Credlin says that she's known Alan Jones for the better part of the last 3 decades. She's worked with him. She's always felt safe. And she said she doesn't know what happened here, but she would like to say it's very out of character for Alan Jones. And she lastly said that the way the police handled this, for example, arresting him at his house, was not correct. They should have asked him to come and surrender just at the police station, and also media shouldn't have been notified. Blah, blah, blah. That's what
Oh,
she
I'm
said.
sure that she'd be showing the same leniency if she wasn't on the same program as
exactly.
that. Oh, this was done incorrectly.
Yeah.
This is
Ray
from the
Hadley-
tough on crime.
Justice.
Ray Hadley at his take too.
Oh.
Ray Hadley said,
Throw
it's
the
been
book at him.
public knowledge that I've had a public falling out with Alan Jones. I haven't spoken to him since 2019 or something. I would like to make it known that one of the victims, came up to me around 2019. They told me about this, so I was aware of the rumors and stories. And he said that it's not. I'm not going to comment on it because it's in court, and by the time the court judgment will come out,
He's retired.
I'm retired, and so I'm very happy not talking about this ever in my life.
There is this weird, it's the same thing with Trump's ex-lawyer, Roy Cohen. There's this weird contingency of, ultra, like very conservative, kind of old man establishment type that is like like they're gay, but they just never admit it. They just sort of like, and they hate, like Roy Cohn was like, he died of AIDS. And when he died, it was like, it's liver failure, and it was never admitted. Like no one ever. It was never, even though there was proof.
Everyone knew.
There was medical, and he also like would go to he'd go to court and be like, that man is a communist homosexual. He got like a lot of people banned from, kicked out of the army for being gay. It's like, it's illegal to be homosexual in the United States military, and he got them like dishonorably discharged. And he was represented McCarthy in the McCarthy trials.
Yeah, and then they had the new policy of don't ask, don't tell. Like, just don't say you're gay.
Yeah, but
like,
what is that? It's such a strange kind of person.
Dude, like, homosexuality was illegal
Not that long
in
ago.
the 90s in Tasmania.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Well, it's Tassie. Yeah.
I know, but like, you know,
yeah,
it's
I know.
like
Yeah.
And it still should be.
But like, yeah, I get that, but I don't think they did it out of fear. Alan Jones didn't do it out of fear of a reprisal. Same as Roy Cohn. I don't think it was fear. It wasn't like fear of backlash. I think it was, I don't know, some...
This
No,
goes
he's from
into...
a different age.
But why? I get it, but like, is it like, I don't think it was for his career. I think there's some self-hating element.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's deeply entrenched.
So it's like an old Catholic thing of just like
These powerful men were absolute assholes. I was listening to a podcast. I was telling this to Jordan as soon as I walked in. I'm listening to a podcast on Lyndon B. Johnson, the American president. Dude, his stories are insane.
Yeah.
Okay, at one point, everyone's against the Vietnam War. This is just one example. There's many.
Yeah.
Everyone's against the Vietnam War. He's in front of a group of journalists, not his friends, and he's the president of the United States. He's in front of a group of journalists. One of the journalists says, Mr. President, why are we still fighting this war? The U.S. is hemorrhaging soldiers at this point. Why are we still fighting this war? Why don't we just come back, bring the troops back home? He takes out his penis. In front of the president of the U.S., he takes out his penis, he cups his cock, and he says...
He was wearing one of these.
He looks at her, and he goes, because of this. This was an unremarkable story, because the man did this all the time.
That was his answer to a lot of the questions. That was his dodge.
What president was this? Because
Lyndon B. Johnson. The B standard for big.
And the Johnson stood for Johnson.
Johnson.
Damn, of course it was this guy.
Yeah, you like that? Huh?
What the hell?
Let's get busy.
And he's from Texas, the big state.
Men from an earlier generation
Holy shit, yeah.
were used to a life that if you became rich and successful and powerful,
you could do what you wanted.
You just grab onto pussy, and they don't like that's
pussy.
the frame of mind. Like watch Mad Men and stuff. It's insane.
So is he? Mad Men was a good.
Dude, this is the other thing. Like when we talk about like this whole Me Too movement, feminazi, it's gone too much. There was a time when it was like required. It is insane that you could just do that as the president. I know Mislav's doing it right now.
He's pulling a Lyndon himself.
You like that?
Huh? I like it.
Yeah. Is he regarded as like a noble, proud president with a
He's
clean
known
record?
as one of the greats.
Yeah.
And he was one of the greats.
He was one of the greats.
In more ways than one.
So politics
he
was always
one of the most ambitious civil rights acts.
Was he a Republican?
No, Democrat.
He was a Dem.
He was an old school blue dog Democrat.
See, that's what the Dems need now. A new
Lyndon
Well,
Johnson.
actually, sorry. Let's pivot from this topic because the next segment is. Jordan, I've got to ask you a few questions, and
Okay.
I need.
It's going to be hard for me to take it seriously with Mislav.
It's going to be hard for all of us.
Not for Miss.
This will help.
Okay, so I want to.
Hey, what do you know? It did.
Okay, I wanna just like preface this by a news story which has recently come out.
Take this job seriously.
No, you don't.
It was about the legislation that Labour Party wanted to introduce regarding caps on international students, and it turns out that after years years, I'd say decades, of the Liberal Party and the coalition accusing Labour of having an open borders, extreme amounts of internationals, housing prices. Recently, they've started linked it to that. After all of that, when there is a tough legislation on caps of international students, the Liberals withdraw their support and go in the corner with the Greens to oppose
No
it.
way.
So what I'm saying is, Jordan, and this is what I wanted to bring up, I think that Peter Dutton's going to go dirty. He's going to follow the Trump playbook, which is essentially that here's the liberal like policy in general, without all the extra aesthetic appeal to it. You try to cut down on social services, you cut down on all what they consider to be handouts, even Medicare, and you reduce taxes by cutting that off, right? This is generally an unpopular thing for any politician to say. So they will pull off all sorts of dirty Trump-like tactics in this election.
Beaut.
How do we deal with that? Do we accept the fact that like we're going to lose? Because it's happening everywhere. It's not just Trump. Did you hear in like New Zealand?
What?
They're reworking the treaty with the Maoris. There was a massive Haka protest.
Oh yeah, I
in the
saw that.
parliament, which got like so it's happening everywhere. So what do? Do we just resign to the fact that the Liberals are going to take over in the next election?
Nah, I don't think they will. That's my prediction.
I think if things go the way they are, they will come back. And the problem is that no matter if the Labour Party assumes that if they bring out like centrist policies or policies that are bipartisan, Liberals will play a ball and the country will realize that these guys mean business and they're doing what's right for the country. I think they're going to do exactly what Trump did, which is get people to focus on like there's already abortion stuff happening in Australia.
Is
like
there?
I thought that was a debate that we had, but Orange Hospital, it's on the back burner. It's like slowly coming up. Orange Hospital decided all of a sudden that to change their policy, no abortions
Really?
unless the mother's life is at risk. I
Right.
think another hospital recently I read was doing something similar. I don't know if Peter Dutton is going to do the abortion thing, but he's definitely going to follow the Trump playbook. And the cost of living means that if Labor does exactly what they're doing now, they will lose.
The question is, what do you do?
I know what they should do. I got the answer. You want it? More radical reform. Don't stop just with the HEX debt. Eliminate HEX. I don't know. Mufti Day for all Australians. People like that.
Which, by the way, Hex has also run into blocks on their own because they might not have enough votes for that too. Hex is also being opposed. What I'm saying is something as what we consider to be bipartisan a few weeks ago, the caps on international. Let's be real, it was a Liberal Party demand as opposed to Labor going because it breaks up their own voting bank.
Yeah.
None of it's going to get passed.
Why are the Libs blocking?
Because from their perspective,
Not
it's
enough,
like
not
the
enough.
election is in 6 months.
So what,
why do we give them any kind of victory?
Yeah, that's bad. That's dirty. That's
all
that's
hostile
like
now.
Trumpian style.
Well,
like
it's also
blocks.
just exactly what Tony Abbott did. Look,
Right.
Paul Keating once said this. This is the Liberal Party's playbook in opposition. Unless I'm in power, I'm going to wreck the place.
Right.
That's what they do every time.
That's fucked.
They always do it.
That is fucked.
Well, yeah. Look, I think that, as we're saying globally,
You don't think?
Hmm?
You don't think my reform idea is good? More crazy policies?
well, I think that it showed in Queensland that it
I
might
didn't
help them,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
not
true.
enough.
That's true.
And I think that, honestly, the world it was really strange. I feel like we had 4 years where people were sort of voting in that sensible manner of maybe it's a good idea to uphold institutions. Maybe the government is a good thing. And that radically changed for whatever reason. And it's come back with a vengeance. And I think that the average voter across the world likes the idea of everything being wrecked again. They like
Yeah,
that.
Jesus.
And so I think that even just the signal of, we're wrecking the place,
Is a good thing.
it's just seen as cool to do that now. That's awesome.
Okay, can I just like bring
Jesus.
something up because this is dangerous territory. So one scenario is, and hopefully this is the scenario that this is a current, right? The current model everywhere is F the center. We're gonna go for extremes, whether it be right wing, and this will change. Maybe in 3 years, 4 years, when Trump goes down, so will these other governments around the world that are propping up. That's one scenario. Let's hope that happens. There's a second scenario too, which is very scary. The second scenario is essentially post 1930s. So fascism. I'm not saying that Trump or Peter Dutton are fascists, but one of the things that fascists did really well was as soon as they came, like Mussolini, for instance, when Mussolini came after the Depression, the first thing that he did was raise pensions. People had gone through a very tough time. Economically, they were doing horribly. He comes in and he says, I'm going to give you pensions. And he also says, F the corporations, F the industries, they've ruined it. He gives them their pensions, starts feeding them, and secretly, or like this is what all fascists did, they actually went to the industrialists and they teamed up with them. But what they told the voters was, I'll take care of you. But what you need to do is now forget about having your say in who runs the country and how the country is run. We're gonna do this. And this became the de facto status quo. Because if there's instability and then a fascist comes in, everyone in society, particularly the capitalists in society, initially they might feel that this is really bad. They're against fascism. They might have liberal views themselves. But what they crave at that point is stability. So they will immediately shake hands with an authoritarian or a fascist government, and that becomes the status quo for a long time. Like if you want to look at a modern day example, it's Iran. The revolution happens and it hasn't changed. If you did a vote today in Iran, I don't know if the clerical regime would win, but it doesn't matter now because the status quo is set, and now you have to come up with a new bloody revolution for this to change.
Really? Right.
So what I'm saying is, Jordan, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong about, because maybe my understanding about Australian politics is less than you. Do you think that the only way to deal with this now is for Albo to start doing populist shit, left-wing populist shit? So even if it wrecks the economy, so for example, the state bank thinks that the interest rate still isn't in control, so we can't. The inflation still isn't in control. We can't reduce We can't reduce the interest rate. Albo comes out and says, "F you, Reserve Bank. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start giving extra pensions. We're gonna start increasing Centrelink payments. What ideally would be considered a bad economics because it'll drive up inflation further, but it will pacify the voting class." And I think that is the only way to win the election now.
So you do agree with Mislav?
I do agree with Mislav. But I want to know your take, because maybe Australia is more centrist. Maybe there is still room for centrism in the US because there is none. If you're a centrist in the US, you are screwed.
You're dead.
You either have to be AOC or you have to be Trump, which is why a lot of AOC's voters voted for AOC and Trump.
By the way, the audio just fucked up again, they said. I don't know why. Just then.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Is it going now?
Yeah, apparently, but I've just asked them, like, how bad is it? It can't be that bad.
Yeah, okay. I can think it's working.
Doesn't
now.
seem. Now it's fine again?
Yeah, it's
We'll
fine.
have to
It
figure
might
this
have been
shit
like
out.
an internet thing.
We'll figure it out.
But
But
anyways, what do you think? What do you think? Am I
yeah.
wrong about that? Is Australia more centrist than the US?
Well, by definition, it is.
yeah.
It has to be because everybody votes. But
Yeah,
that is
right.
the one saving grace of Australian democracy.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I don't think any of these tactics matter. And I have already changed my opinion on the US election already, for what it's worth. I don't think that you should probably listen to other people, but look.
It was stolen from Biden. That's your take, right?
I do think that.
Yeah,
I do think that, absolutely. It was
Yeah.
stolen election.
Yeah.
But everybody made a big deal, and you saw it across Fox News. You saw it across all the podcasts, all saying, oh, the Democrats had $1 billion war chest. The difference is that the Democrats declare what they get.
Well,
That's
another,
the massive
Here's
difference.
another interesting
And-
fact for
yeah.
you. Because Kamala raised close to $1 billion immediately, the assumption is that she gets a lot of corporate money. The fact is both parties get corporate money. But here's the interesting thing that I read. Out of all of the Democratic donations, 6% came from the billionaire class, right? For Trump campaign, 20% came from the billionaire class.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's more corporates giving money to Republicans still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
here's the other thing. That's directly into their campaigns. When we're talking about dark money, when we're talking about super PACs, okay, the Democrats had $1 billion. I think the Republicans had 14 billion in dark money.
And all they could, with all that money, all they could do is be like trans.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. They
that's
just pump that out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
this is the difference. So there's all that money that is off the books, that is run through dirty means, that is trying to get them elected, and then everybody says, oh, the people have spoken. I just don't think that you can compete with that type of money.
Right.
And so really, I think that all of these tactics are kind of superfluous. As in, yeah, I agree with Ali that maybe if you did run those things, maybe Labor wouldn't be beaten as badly. But I think at the end of the day, you just can't compete against those numbers. We still don't know
Dude, you
how much
can.
money the coal industry
You
put
can.
into the
You-
Queensland
you-
election. We don't know.
In a pre-social media world, maybe you're right. You couldn't have. But now you can.
Can you?
Albo, yes, you can. Like,
I
don't
mean,
give
look,
up just
Stephen
yet.
Miles ran exactly the campaign you're talking about.
That's
he did
true.
well.
And he did so well.
That's
yeah, but he
true.
didn't win.
It's okay. It's okay. He was bound to lose. I don't think Albo is in this position that Queensland Labor was pre-election. So I think if he follows Stephen Miles' playbook, stuff like 50-cent train, he's going to get hounded by the corporate because it will genuinely be bad for the economy in many regards. But I think it's like you have to keep it on, dude, because the alternative is if the Liberals get in, and I don't know what happens in the future, if there's some doom and gloom and this wave of conservatism lasts for another decade, we're screwed. We need to win this election, and we can win this election. And I'll tell you why it's not doom and gloom. So in the U.S., there's a lot of talk about like all of the people that Trump switched, right? And even in New York, the people that switched to Trump was astounding. It was
Really?
insane. But as more data comes out, particularly in areas like New York, where you see a massive swing towards Trump in some areas, it's not because more people decided to vote for Trump. It's because a lot of people decided not to vote. And when they didn't vote, a lot of people that usually vote but didn't vote. So like, okay, so the difference between Kamala and Trump for getting young voters, the Gen Z population, Trump beat Kamala by 4%. It's nothing. It wasn't that much. But the problem was that Kamala lost 17% from the previous elections of people that just didn't go vote. They were disillusioned by it.
Right, yeah.
And
okay.
they were disillusioned by, unlike what the media says, which is that the Democrats have gone loony left.
Yeah.
They've gone too far to the left.
Yeah.
Most of them said that they didn't vote because Democrats went towards the center,
Really?
which means that the center is toxic at the moment.
Right.
You have to be either left or you have to be right, and you have to be populist in that category.
Yes, but I'm saying that if you are populist left, which I hate these terms, but yes, we all understand what he's saying. He's saying the Bernie Sanders vein of the Democratic Party. If you do that, the amount of pushback that you are going to get from the corporate sector, from the industrial titans, is going to absolutely dwarf what we saw. They are going to pump way more money
I
into
agree.
it.
I
And the
agree.
thing is that Trump is running a populist campaign. The difference is he's going to have a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And if you're Bernie Sanders, you're going to have a few donations from a few stoners in Boston.
That's not true though. First of all, Bernie's campaign was well funded as well.
Was
and
it?
The,
Yeah, but when you get to a presidential,
Okay,
for a primary, it was well funded.
leave America now because that's done. You've got 4 years. It's for them. I'm talking about in Australia.
My problem is, Ali, the great advancements that we saw in this time that we're always pointing to of the 50s. Why were they possible?
Man, okay, I know this is a whole different topic, but I genuinely think it was possible because the economy was doubling every 4 years in the 50s, 60s. Right now, and for the last 20 years, the economy isn't growing at that state, which is what scares me about this conservative wave becoming entrenched in society. Because when you have overall the economy is growing everywhere, you can have different ideas. People are usually less crazy and less intense about stuff. But we're moving towards an even slowing economy. And in that case, I don't know.
Yeah, you get more
if-
1930s
I
politics.
honestly think like even the corporate and the media scrutiny that a supposed left-wing populist in Australia will get, it might even work in their favor this time around. Like, I think it would help them as opposed to hurting them. The sentiments are pretty intense. Because I'm telling you, if things are going that way, I can guarantee you Albo is losing this election.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, I just really don't know what to do about it, especially because you can't really do the 50-cent bus fare thing federally. What can they announce that's everybody gets something? I mean,
Dude,
Rudd did it. He gave
straight up.
$1,000 out to everybody. He
That's
lost.
I can tell you one thing.
Scott Morrison gave everyone $700 a week.
I can give you one thing that even the liberals will be terrified to criticize. Increase pensions for old people.
That's pretty-
You cannot go wrong with this.
That's
dude.
true.
But will they change their vote?
It doesn't matter. I think they will, but it doesn't matter if they don't. You need to do what the fascists do, which is like give them money, even if it hurts the economy in the temporary, win the elections, and then you come up with some kind of reform or whatever it might be. But right now, usually I'm the one who's saying like they're both the same thing. Who cares? But it matters at this point because like, the wave is getting intense.
The wave is getting intense.
It's getting intense.
It is
bro.
quite scary.
And I hope that it's a temporary thing.
Why does it happen? Is that just what happens when it's like times are tough? You elect a strong man or whatever.
Yeah,
Is
dude,
that-
it happened every time. Like,
Right.
and you look at any society that
Yeah.
goes through like intense. Okay, so if you look at like the world, you have examples of 2008. Right after 2008, you had the breakup of the Republicans. Obama was elected. Over here, I think Kevin Rudd was elected in 07.
Yeah.
We had similar sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
that
like
was-
even if you look at like microcosm of certain countries that go through insane amounts of recession. So you look at Greece. When Greece was bankrupted, they elected a party which before the bankruptcy had 3% of the total voter share.
Yeah.
This was a left-wing populist government and then sweeps the country in a matter of a year. You look at Argentina right now, which is in like an embedded recession. They go from like left-wing socialist government all the way to the current libertarian Millet type character. So anywhere where there's economic hardships, you're going to have the voters are going to switch towards a populist figure. Now it's up to us whether that populist figure is a right-wing conservative fascist or it is a left-wing populist who believes in like expanding social network, social net and stuff. It's up to us.
Yeah.
If
'Cause
you're
it-
not going to do it, they will.
Because it's like a disillusion in, what they, like the status quo, right? Which is the center or whatnot. They're kind of like, it's a disillusion.
The center is dead. Move away from it.
Well, I got to say, look, I do definitely trust your instincts on these things better than I do trust my own. I just think that if you are going to put up two strong leaders that are pulling the country in different directions, I think that your Trump types are going to win because they're backed by the corporate interests.
But how can,
And
how
so-
can
But I think the Trump types are going to win anyhow. You need to, you know what you need? The framework needs to change. The framework right now is, which is
Okay, so you're not talking about the next election. You're talking about we're entering a new era.
No, I'm talking about literally this election. So what is happening right now is we're thinking Labor is in power and we need to hold on to this power, right? We just need enough where we stay in government, we have enough seats. I think we need to abandon that frame of mind. We need to accept that as things are, we're losing. So think of yourself as the opposition at this point. You're already in the opposition without realizing it. So now you need to have like either we attempt to do the populist thing, left-wing populist, and we lose, which is fine because we were going to lose anyways, or we might win. Because if you keep things the way they are, you're definitely losing.
Okay.
So you need to make that. I'm not saying that if you go left-wing populist, you're
You
going to
will
win. It's a guarantee for. But I think you have a better shot. And if you lose, it's okay. You were going to lose anyways.
And on top of that, like Stephen Miles, you've really set yourself up for the next election.
Yeah, exactly.
You've set yourself up.
Stephen Miles is in a really good position now.
He's in a great position. And let's be honest, as soon as Peter Dutton, if he does become Prime Minister, becomes Prime Minister,
That'd be insane if he does.
Wouldn't
It's
it?
crazy.
wouldn't it? But if he does, he's going to be immediately unpopular, and there's going to be nothing they can do to salvage that. And anybody that they replace Peter Dutton with, the Liberal Party is completely bereft of talent, and they are not going to be able to pull the same stuff that Peter Dutton was able to pull. So it is one of those things where I am kind of hopeful about it in the same way that I was hopeful about Stephen Miles. Even if he loses, he's set himself up. So look, I don't necessarily disagree with it, Ali. I do think that if this is the tide that we are moving into, they will win the next election. But this goes back to my point then. What you are describing more is the fact that we are losing, which scares me the most, honestly. Because
we're losing culture war. Let's be real. That's what this is.
We're not just losing culture war. It's not just we're losing
we're
culture
in the
war.
same
I
position.
think that we are changing as a society. We are becoming more crazy. I think that that's really bad for society. My point always is when you have governments that are sort of mainstream and they don't change things too radically, you get better results. I will always cite South Australia. South Australia has gone from leaps and bounds over the last 24 years. And why is that? It is because they have a Labor government in most of the time. That's great. But when they do occasionally get a Liberal government in, it's not a crazy Liberal government. And that's great. That means that, like, you know, when they are doing their renewable energy transition, because they don't have the Nationals in there, they're not ripping the shit out of it. It still goes on. It just goes on in a slightly different way. And the thing is that's very infuriating and frustrating to me is you trying to explain that to the population is so unpopular right now.
Right now it is because...
And the whole thing is, and this is the thing that's completely unfair about it, it's not the system. It's the fact that, yeah, in any governmental time, in any period in human history, there is going to be, and I'm sick to death of this whole thing of like capitalism causes booms and busts. Any economic system that you put in is always going to have booms and busts. It is always going to have good economic times and bad economic times. And the thing that's really stupid and scary about human beings is that they sit there and they say, oh, there is a bad economic time right now. It has to be the government's fault. That's the only explanation for it. That's terrible. And the thing is, you can't do anything about that.
There's another problem with that. And the issue is, Jordan, when you started off Friendly Jordies, being pro-labor, having a left-wing approach towards issues, society, was the cool thing. This was the golden era of the Daily Show. Young people watching recognize that whether it be the liberals or the Republicans, their base is the super elite and the rich. And it is the left wing or Democrats or Labor Party over here that represent the rest of us. And there was a cultural superiority almost to feel that way too. Like you would have to be ridiculous to be like Mitch McConnell in those times. That has completely switched now. There's people listening to us right now that are saying these guys are out of touch, irrelevant lefties. What they're really trying to say is that our version of politics is vanilla, and they don't want vanilla. They want different flavors, which Trump or the conservatives are now providing them, which we were doing 10 to 15 years ago. So if you don't want them to move, because they are going to move in droves, they already are. People that listen to this that thought that Trump was Hitler, was cancer, now are saying that Trump is the guest. It's Kamala that is always. So the only way you can get them, because at the end of the day, I don't care about like whether they think I'm stupid or not. What I want them to do is to vote Labor and not move this country more towards the right. And we can only do that is by giving them more flavor in their politics. Make left wing cool again. And you can't do that being in the center. Straight up.
On that note, we have a couple of Garys in the chat being like, why call the right-wing conservative fascist? This is not the case. And then someone said, yes, 2005 UK politics as an objection. I don't know what happened then.
Look, okay, I'm sorry.
Don't say sorry. Just
I'm using the word, I'm not saying that they're all fascist, but you have to admit that a lot of them have like fascistic tendencies.
And in the classic, too right, go One Nation. You should tear that apart because there's a lot of people. You should address why One Nation is basically just the libs. But anyway, go on, yeah.
Well, this is one of the hopeful things is like in this last election, I think One Nation in the Queensland elections, One Nation didn't win a single seat. So they
Yeah.
are like, again, that's why we shouldn't completely think
No,
of
it's just an
Australia as
internet buzz
exactly
thing.
the same.
Look, I don't really. When I'm talking about all of this stuff, I don't really care what the online people say, because online people that consume politics, as we said before, they are the psycho element of society. They are. The average person doesn't see this. They don't think about it. All they see is my life shit, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And then they get this kind of flavor of like, oh, Dutton's going to do something good. And then they vote him in. They don't think about this shit at all. They're not thinking about it into any degree of what Ali's talking about.
But the de facto effect will be the same. Because I know like people are saying don't call conservative fascist. That's too much. But like,
Just
dude, the
explain
new
it.
right wing
Just
is
explain it.
extremely insane. So Trump's picks are all MAGA. They're not old school centrist Republicans, and
They're TV stars.
they're TV stars, and they have some
Fuck
seriously. So they have the dangerous combination. So look at someone like JD Vance. JD Vance on the surface is really conservative, right? He is Republican. He should represent the corporations, like Mitch McConnell before him, Marco Rubio, but he doesn't. He believes in expanding social net. Did you know that?
Yeah, but he's not going to do it.
If he does it, it's worse than if he doesn't do it. Because if he does it, then he gains popularity, and then he can push on and like, I know they're not fascists, but like, come on, let's be real. Like this, I'm not saying that all conservatives or all Republicans are fascists, but the trending bloc has some tendencies.
Yeah, that's a fair. Yeah,
And that's a scary position to be in.
Well, it's also what is, I suppose, sort of. There is one other way of looking at it in a broad sense, Ali, which is that when you have those governments, when you have Hitlerian governments when you have your Mussolinis, they have their little bursts. But generally, it's not a very effective way at running a society. And those governments do sort of start to collapse in on themselves. Now, Ali does make the point that they can stay in and run a shitty society. That's true. It could go the European way minus the war of this sucks, let's get rid of them.
You need
and then
the war for it, Jordan. Without World War II, who knows when this would have ended?
Who knows when it would have ended?
Who
knows when it would have ended? But there's a memory that gets entrenched in people where they start remembering, okay, it can go down this path. The problem with America and Australia is that we're new societies where this has never happened to us before. We've always had very stable, normal, good governance, I suppose. Like on either side, yes, obviously we have our massive disagreements with the Liberals. Yes, we have our massive disagreements with the Republicans. But it is always stuck in that kind of mainstream politics perspective. And so what you're describing now is more people that are like, I'm bored, let's just throw the board game up for no reason. Sometimes society does just need to get that out of their system.
Those bored people don't have to believe in fascism or being extremely right wing. What they need to do is, at some point, put their trust into the right wing fascist government and then let them take over the institutions. And now you're stuck. Okay, let's leave aside fascism. Okay, let's talk about the French Revolution. French Revolution, by most accounts, for everyone, is really nice. Not if you were the clergy, not if you were the royal. And what's happened to them since? They're still in the repression. Like, the French revolutionaries killed religion, and they have never recovered since. I happen to think that's a good thing, right? And I'm glad about that. But what if I wasn't? What if I was part of the clergy? You don't know how long this stuff can last. All you can do is get that bored man who is the majority, who doesn't want, like, a Holocaust, or who doesn't want stupid wars, but will get into a point at some point where he can't make that decision. So at this point, when they're bored and moving towards them, you try to move them towards yourself.
All right, now, Ali, answer me this. This is something that I wanted to talk about on the podcast beforehand. What is it with commies and always being right? What is that? A big mantra of this podcast is, you want investment tips, go to a commie. Don't go to a hedge fund investor. Go to a guy that's read a lot of Marx. He's going to pick it. Then when it comes to politics, I'm always, Ali doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, the demographics are in the Democrats' favors, and then the demographics just completely change, and then they go to it. And then Ali is sitting there saying, I told you so. Now, look, I always have the fundamental disagreement with Ali when he says that, you know, the communist utopia is the way to go. It's like, yeah, look, I understand the argument. I just think that it's not practical because no one's ever going to buy into it, right? That's always my opinion. What I will say about the commies, every single commie that I've ever known, they really do seem to understand where society is moving. They seem to get that. What's up with that?
Well, first of all,
Why are you so smart?
I am happy that you have given commies this credit, but they're also wrong, particularly about their utopia that you speak of. Dude, I'm not an old school commie in the sense where I believe that the communism is, like, that was a massive failure on our part. We really didn't predict that right, and it led to some horrible stuff.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, your applications, I don't agree with your applications,
It was an
right?
experiment
But I
that
agree
failed.
that, like, but you guys seem to nail the general mood of society so well.
Because
What
we're
the
not
hell is
stuck
that
in the
about?
mainstream framework.
What's
we look
that
at
mean?
everything from a critical angle. That's what Marx was. Marx was the OG criticizer of everything. And when he did come up with something like communism, it was pretty trash, let's be real. But his work on capitalism is amazing. And so the Marxist frame of mind is to look at everything critically. And
You know, can I just add this point? My editor, his dad, straight up commie. You know what one of his earliest memories, my editor's earliest memories of politics is? The 9/11 Twin Towers. We all remember that. That was happening. He was watching it on TV. And you know what his dad's response was? Damn. So many innocent people are going to die because of this. That was his initial thought when he saw that. And he was absolutely right.
yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm talking about.
bro,
They seem to get
you-
these things. They know where society's
you didn't
going.
have to be a communist to know that if you were going to attack the unipolar
Towers.
superpower of the world and kill 3,000 of World Trade Center, like their best man, let's be real,
They got their best.
that this is gonna have some serious repercussions. I think everyone was thinking, I hope it's not us that has to face the brunt of it, but it should have been obvious at that point, like, shit's about to go down.
Yeah, but
And shit
the thing
went
was,
down hard.
I know that, but at the time, everyone in the mainstream was saying, "Oh yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to go into Afghanistan, they're going to kill the terrorists. Bada bing, bada boom. The world will be a safer place. We'll put in some more protections." And no, that didn't happen.
That's not that's someone that just doesn't understand geopolitics and how stuff works.
Revenge.
Do you think? Because
Yeah.
I think that all the geopolitics experts at the time, I remember them all going on there and saying, yeah, they're just going to go and they're going to take the terrorists. It's all going to be fine. And then it got out of hand really fast.
Yeah, dude. It's
So that guy sitting at home in Australia watching it on TV was more right than all the people that you saw on your Meet the Press, all the people that
yeah,
you
but
saw.
that guy wasn't a genius, dude. He had like hundreds of years history to know exactly how this is going to go down. As soon as when the Twin Towers go attack, no one knows exactly who did it. Well, once it became clear that it was Osama bin Laden affiliated Al Qaeda, then you know, okay, this how this is gonna go down, and like they're gonna have to invade Afghanistan, and it's not gonna be an easy task because anyone that's tried to invade Afghanistan has found it incredibly difficult. There was the Russian example, which was only a couple of decades before that. Like, it wasn't even that long ago. Then you had the British example. So anyone that understood geopolitics at the time knew that, oh, this isn't going to be swift action. Like, okay, maybe people didn't know that this war is going to drag on for 2 decades, and even then America's going to lose. Maybe that wasn't the understanding, but everyone knew that this is going to have to be a very long and bloody war,
Yeah.
and a lot of innocent people will have to die.
Totally.
So again, that's not about communism. That's just like don't watch MSN or watch MSNBC and CNN, but don't think of it as gospel. And also, for those of you watching, this is also needs to be said. Don't watch right-wing conservative YouTubers like Ben Shapiro and think that stuff is gospel and MSNBC is correct. Watch all of it and then make an educated understanding of where do you think stuff lands. Like, so it's not the communism. It's just like someone that's not in the mainstream CNN bubble. Or
I
Fox
just don't
News
know
bubble.
anybody else that gets it though,
People
because there
get
are
it.
other people that are out of the bubble.
People get it. They're just not given, and particularly at the time of 9/11, they weren't invited on programs to talk about it. Like the only person that was invited onto programs was like the State Department of ambassador who spent 2 years of his illustrious career in Syria. Let's see what he has to say. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's just a horrible tragedy. And dude, what are you talking about? Like the uni professor that's written the book on Taliban and Afghanistan. Maybe that guy has something to say, but he's never given. Like, okay, I'll give you this much: State Department might invite them. Although, according to some accounts, they don't do that often. But I'm willing to believe the State Department might invite professors and people that know about this stuff and get their advice, and they'll tell them, like, this is not going to be easy. But they're not invited on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News.
Well, don't you think, Ali, that this is the main problem with all of this? When it comes to the Labor Party, when it comes to the Democrats, you can sit there and say, oh, they didn't position themselves right, they should have put out all these populist policies, all of that. Where is the public support? It's not there. The way that they were able to do it in the 50s, yes, I understand that there was growth and they were able to put in all of these policies because they had the economic growth so they could implement these things. But it was also because 70% of the population was unionised. They had funding. They were able to get the message out because people were unionised. So you could go out, you could put it out to your newsletters, people would read it, people were paying for the campaigns that could be run for this stuff. You're not getting that money anymore. That money's gone.
Dude, the union has changed. The union is Joe Rogan podcast. Like millions of workers assemble over there every week to listen to what their union boss has to say.
Yeah, and the
Like,
union
just
boss said vote Trump.
Whereas we are idiotic enough still to be going to the fucking builders union headquarters where there's 5 people left and we're saying, we're going to do wonders for you. Meanwhile, the masses are watching these podcasters and social media and getting their bullshit points from I don't want to take names right now, but there's a few in Australia too that are doing this. Like, that's where you reach out to them. Stop, like, the CFMEU era is dead. Like, you cannot win elections based on that. So you have to convert the normies. The conservatives did it, right? Trump did it. It was impossible. Bill O'Reilly thought they'd lost the culture wars. This is over. But he did it through the power of social media and giving some flavor. We've got to do that. Give them flavor on normie social media and normal media platforms. They're all there. They're just not at the union headquarters anymore.
I get it. I'm just very scared of a future where unions are dead.
They're already
Maybe
The
they're
future
already
is
gone.
now,
They're already
dude.
gone.
The future is
They're
now.
already
Like, be
gone.
scared. Like, don't be scared. Just, like, now. Look, unions are dead.
They're dead.
You have to adapt.
Yeah, Mislav's right.
But I like that hall, I'll tell you that much. In Ballarat or whatever.
Yeah, there was some sweet times.
There were some sweet times. I went up to the
What a
top
time.
floor and in the little haunted room and looked at all the
Paraphernalia.
portraits as you were like performing downstairs. It's pretty cool. That was a cool experience.
God, I wish that you were able to tell people that unions are a good idea. I really do.
Yeah.
I still think that they would have a great
you
place.
still can, but I don't think it's just going to win you elections. You can still do it. Like, encourage union membership. It's not going to do any harm. But
Well,
you're not
I
gonna
always
win.
thought, like, dude, you know, if Anthony Albanese did a hood tour with Spanion around Glen, he'd win the election.
Exactly.
He'd win the election for sure.
That's so good. But you know what the problem with Albo is? This is the problem that Labor has and liberals and Republicans don't, which is the stupid, risk-averse, consultant mindset that they all have. You know what's going to happen? Some staffer who's probably smart, it will say, Prime Minister, you've got to just do this Albo thing. You're going to get a lot more views. You're going to also reach a demographic that you desperately need to reach. And then some other stupid consultant is going to come and say, well, Spanion is an ex-felon. Look at this video. He says this. This is too we can't do this. Too much risk. The Liberal Party and Dutton is going to use this as ammunition against you, Mr. President or Mr. Prime Minister. Go on fucking, what's his name? Osher Gunsberg's stupid show and do that. And 5 people will watch it. That's the problem. Too much risk aversion. You're right about Spanian, but he's not going to do it. He needs to get into the frame of mind that, like, Spanian is my priority.
They're saying Spanian was a petty thug who assaulted random people and broke into homes.
Exactly.
He's not a good
And this person is perfect for a consultancy job in the Labour Party. Has the perfect mind frame. Risk averse. Don't do anything.
This is the first time that I've been depressed in a long time.
It's time to be depressed. Baby, it's action time. This election means a lot. We could be the story where, like, okay, Australia is another domino that fell, or we could be the story that Australia was the only Western democracy that held on, that kept the conservatives at bay. You choose which one you want.
I think that we all, at the very least, agree that the Labor Party should just be on TikTok all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And that they should be out on whatever social media outlet. And this is my point. Don't go to us.
No,
Don't go to your juices. Don't go to your friendly Geordies. Ignore us.
Go to normie shit.
Go to normie
like
shit.
people that isn't super political. And dude, it's also not just show up. It's what you say is going to be really important.
Look, man, I am very confident that if Labor MPs go on these on these channels, they're going to fare so much better than Peter Dutton. They're going to fare so much better than the Teals. They're going to fare so much better than the Greens, Pauline Hanson. Because, look, people in minor parties are psychos. The Teals, look, they're not psychos, but they are fops. They're absolute fops.
What does that mean?
You know, that kind of person.
Right.
They're not going to gel well with average Australia. Who is going to gel well with average Australia are Labor MPs.
Dude, Liberal MPs will gel so well with them, you have no idea.
Not Dutton.
Dude, even Dutton.
Nah.
Like, okay, you
not a
have to
chance.
first...
I'm telling you now, look.
You're living... Okay, here's another thing. Fool's Paradise. You're thinking that because Labour Party represents the working class, they are more in touch with the general cultural ethos of the Australian public. I want to break this bubble. You're absolutely wrong. A conservative that wears a high-vis shirt and goes and hangs out with them and talks to them about their be, as opposed to their debates that they had at Sydney Uni, is way more relatable. Even if they're not, even if they are wankers from Sydney Uni that just joined the Liberal Party, they are better at acting that role. So, like, again, forget that like automatically we're better than... They relate to the cultural ethos a lot better than us. They also appeal
They relate
to, like,
the cultural ethos better than us when they
reptilian-
are on Sky News. When they're trying to chill and gel with the average person, I'm telling you now, Labor MPs, a lot of them are just normal fucking people. There's so many freaks in the Liberal Party. When they are just chilling, because all we're talking about here is the vibe war. Labor Party MPs have a better vibe. They always do. They've got your Stephen Miles. Liberal Party has Chris Fully.
I don't know if that vibe is correct. I think the vibe of the Labour Party currently is not cool.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
but that's what I'm saying.
It's not vibing well.
No, the brand, obviously, the brand of the Labor Party has never been cool, ever. It's always been shat on. It's always been destroyed. We've got your Kevin Rudds. What have they got? They've got Tony Abbott. Look, I'll give it to him. Malcolm Turnbull could gel. But Scott Morrison certainly fucking couldn't. Albo can. Albo can sink the piss at a pub.
That's true.
Dutton can't do that shit. Dutton's a freak.
Dude, Scott Morrison, for all his flaws, we're overlooking. He had this incredible ability to, when he was speaking, he sounded like the average Australian Joe. I know everyone calls him Scotty for marketing and everyone hates him because we think he's stupid, and he was stupid. But the way he spoke, middle-class suburban Australians could relate it to more than, let's say, how Tony Burke speaks. I love Tony Burke. I think Tony Burke is an excellent politician. He is infinitely better than Scott Morrison. But I also want to admit the fact that, like, some high-whiz dude at a pub will relate to Scott Morrison better than Tony Burke.
I can
Maybe
guarantee
it's
you that's not
because
true.
Scott Morrison is a better actor.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you are in the traditional media paradigm and you've got Scott Morrison with a photo of him holding a beer, wearing a Cronulla Sharks shirt on, yes, he is going to look like your average Australian. You put Tony Burke and you put Scott Morrison on the same podcast at different times, people are going to like Tony Burke more. I can guarantee you it. Tony Burke, when he's not talking about politics, when he's talking about music, when he's talking about movies, that's a cool guy. He gives off real cool dad vibes. I'm saying you strip away party, you strip away theatre when you're just looking at the man or the woman. When these people are on these podcasts and you have them from the Labor Party, they are just normal fucking human beings. Most people, and yes, okay, I get it. They do have their own political animals in there that are a bunch of staffer psycho weirdos. The Liberal Party has way more. I'm telling you now, there is nobody in the Liberal Party that comes off as a normal human being. No one.
Okay, okay. Let's say I agree with you, and that's okay. But that alone wouldn't be enough. You need the talking points for the normies need to be something that they can relate to, and it's not just like I love AC/DC. That's cool. Like, and if they like AC/DC, they'll like you for that. But I honestly think Albo and the government should just pick a fight with the RBA now. Just go Paul Keating on their ass hard, saying that they're the reason why Australians are poor. It's not correct. I'm not saying that that's absolutely correct. But you need to tell the Australian public, you need to make a villain. Right now they're looking for villains.
Yes.
And if you don't do anything, Albo is the villain.
Yeah.
But if Albo creates a different villain, they can be persuaded. It's the corporations that are reason why your cost of living has increased. It's the RBA. They wouldn't increase. Why your home loans are so high? How dare? Like what Trump does. The Reserve Bank of America, it's the easiest job. The governor comes in, he flips a coin, and he says, "Oh, I'll raise it today." He's like, and everyone says, "Oh, what a genius." You think people like all Americans are going like, "How dare you? Like it's an independent body. You should not have, and it's a very complicated decision." They're like, "Fuck yeah, Trump. That guy is an asshole." They just like a fight for any, like even if they didn't care about what the Reserve Bank's views were, they just like a fight.
I'm telling you, man, that's why Jim Chalmers keeps coming off in every poll as extremely competent. It's because of that. He does pick a fight with the RBA, and that's absolutely
and they need to pick a fight with corporations. Fine.
Supermarkets and RBA.
Do your stupid focus groups I'm talking to the Labour Party. Do your stupid focus groups because you love doing them. Find out which corporations or which sectors of the economy.
We know what they are. It's Coles, Woolies, RBA, Qantas.
Go ham. Pick a fight.
Everyone fucking hates
Start
Qantas.
calling them pieces of shit on public. Everyone's going to go, "Oh, such, the language used by the Prime Minister. What is he trying to do?" It was like, but the dude at the power train, finally, a Prime Minister speaking his mind. Yeah, Coles is full of shit. That's how they're going to look at it.
Yep. I agree.
There's no other way.
I agree. I just unfortunately think that that's not going to happen.
Someone's like the general consensus. You need to scapegoat someone. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
that's what's required. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they're playing dirty. You have to understand. The other side is playing dirty. So like you can be righteous, and go into the history books as like 100 years somewhere, going like, "Well, the Labour Party did make economically right decision, but lacked political imagination." You can be that footnote, or you can also play dirty and win. I'd like to be a winner.
Look, Ali, you have bummed me out massively, but I think you are right. And it pains me to say that you are right as well, because I really don't like the direction the world is going.
Dude, it's scaring me because it's all fun and games. I know the consequences can be bad. Hopefully they're not. The jury isn't out, but I can see potentially bad things happening. And the only thing I can think of right now is to stop it is like, just hold the fort. You have to. This is we're Byzantine. They're coming, bro. But the walls need to
The
hold.
wall need to hold. Now, Miss,
Yo.
what are the people saying?
Just a whole bunch of shit. Too much.
Hey,
okay.
we're running.
Thank you for that update.
That's all right.
Miss, I want to get your opinion on something. We'll move on from this.
They're saying literally every opinion on earth.
Literally every opinion on.
Yeah,
Read out a couple before we move on.
Let me just say the good ones. Hold on. The problem also is the normal person has so much bureaucracy in their normal life now, and they know how stupid and useless most of it is. They think that about politicians as being useless bureaucrats. How long can inflation keep going on for corpus to continue profits to fix the economy?
The answer is pretty scary. Maybe not, but possibly indefinitely.
You can't win the
First
election.
of all, inflation will always grow. But like I'm saying, like for the foreseeable future, inflation will always grow. But like our limit is 2%. I'm saying is that we might be stuck globally in an inflationary cycle. I'm not saying that's the case, but if it doesn't stop, let's say for the next 5 years, what's our game plan? Just hope that it one day stops and then the economy gets better and people are going to be like, Labour Party, we can say a lot about them, but they did really fix the economy. That wonderland is not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And even if it does happen, like by the time you're out of the office, the economic benefits are going to be reaped, so it's not even going to go in your kitty.
They can't win the election with online censorship. That's one thing I wanted to talk about, that whole thing, but I am too dumb.
Look, this is what I'll say about it. I was talking to someone about this today. I think that the online censorship thing is going to be a big W with the mums. It's not going to be a big W with our online quote-unquote community, because obviously they're online, so they're going to hate it. The youth is going to hate it. It might end up winning more mums than it'll end up losing young people. I think that the happy medium would be that they say, oh, okay, we're going to put in some regulations, but we're not going to give out like IDs that you have to sign into. And if they do that, then you probably will win back the young vote, and the mums will be like, well, it's about time something happened. I think that's the best case scenario in this.
The problem is, I think we're at this point where no matter what legislation Labour tries to pass, no matter how bipartisan it is, how sensible it is, they're going to get shit for it because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's like Biden.
Yeah, it's kind
It's
of like
irrelevant how good the economy is. It's irrelevant how inflation's been
People just
controlled.
don't like elitism. And I'm not saying it's necessarily even a good thing, because I don't want politics shouldn't get to the point where it's just like, you're a dick, and the other person's like, nah, you're a dick. Like it should be a little bit more
good.
diplomatic.
Both
but that's what it is.
the
People don't
online
like elitists.
bill and the caps on international students were bipartisan bills that both the parties agreed to, wanted to. One of them was pressurized by the Liberal Party, and they both have been abandoned. This tells you that they're in no mood to support you in any which way.
Totally.
Abandon these bills, wait for the next election, move towards populism and social topics.
Totally.
Labour MPs are too media trained. They never talk freely, makes jokes, and they're patronising.
That's a problem.
Yep, that's
a
totally
problem.
true.
Yeah,
They're
that's
absolutely
true.
right.
Biggest migration numbers ever aren't helping Labour connect with the people. We've got to bring the numbers down.
Oh, for Christ's sakes, they are bringing them down. The reason that we have the big number... see, this is
It's
the
the
thing
trap.
that's so
You're
annoying.
falling into the trap. You're right, but it's irrelevant to that person.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Just say they're gay. No, I want to know what.
It's just all of the visas that were pending during COVID are getting processed now. The numbers
Right.
aren't any different. They just came in with a big influx, and then the
Right.
Liberals get to turn around, and Sky News gets to turn around and say, look at the migration explosion. It's exactly what happened in America.
It's happened
Yeah.
globally. Even in countries that have conservative governments, it happened.
See, everyone's saying the mainstream of freaks. Everyone's just been like the mainstream of freaks. Like people don't like. I think the thing that's moving. Like I think the mainstream is just dying, and like whatever it means, this idea of someone being elitist or trained, or is in any way like, I suppose robotic, then they're like the enemy or something.
Well,
I'll tell you what. Like if Labor loses the next election, you know who should become the next Labor leader?
Who?
Dan
Spaniard.
Rapascoli.
Who the fuck's
Dan
that?
Rapascoli,
I don't know
that
who that
giant from the Hunter Valley
Ah.
with the huge beard. That should be the next PM.
that a physical characteristic like that already a benefit because
Huge.
it makes you memorable.
And that guy, they've tried to media train him. He can't do it. He is who he is.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
you watch him, he's got the best thing that you could possibly ever hope for. He's intimidating as shit. He's huge. I've been in the same room as him.
Right.
When he holds your hand, he accidentally crushes it. That's what a giant he is.
Yeah.
But he's a gentle giant.
Yeah,
He's
I agree.
He's how good is that?
That's a
This
good
is
idea.
something that Jordan Peterson once pointed out about men. What people want out of a man is somebody who has the capacity to kill you, but doesn't because they've contained the beast within. And that's that man. He's just a gentle man.
Yeah,
He's a true gentleman.
It
Yeah.
always works. A dog.
And also, on top of that, great TikTok game. I've seen it. There was this footage that went viral. A guy that used to work at Friendly Geordies did it because he gets this. He's constantly telling people in labor, go on TikTok, make a bunch of TikTok clips, collab with them. This is what Dan does. But there was this great TikTok trend or video where there was a bunch of primary school kids that were going into Parliament, and it was honestly the most adorable thing I've ever seen. It was so adorable. It was 30 kids in like year 4 or year 3 putting up their hands in front of Dan Rapascoli, who was looking quite uncomfortable because he's standing up and there's all these little kids there. And it's great that he's kind of a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they're asking
At least
questions.
it's real.
Like, it's real.
Yeah.
And they're putting up questions and they're saying to him, why do you like being here? And stuff. And he's like, oh, I don't like it. I like the Hunter Valley more, but I like how here you can help people out. That's what's great about being an MP.
Yeah.
I like it when people call in and they say, oh, you know, can you help me out with me Medicare and stuff? And they'll put their hand up and be like, what's Medicare? It's like, you can see a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cute.
That's good.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's awesome.
but I think Albo straddles that line between being like diplomatic and educated, but also can like scull a beer.
Yeah, but
So, like,
that's
I
the
don't
whole
know.
thing. This is my whole point. Albo can do it. We've
Yeah.
seen him.
Albo's-
Unlike ScoMo, he didn't give himself that nickname.
No.
People just naturally
yeah,
gravitated
yeah.
to calling him Albo.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Because he was a pub grub.
He is. He's
That's
He is
it.
naturally a pub grub.
is.
That is an advantage that he has, no doubt.
massive.
But he also needs to go back to Albo before Bill Shorten's election. Remember, Albo was a Labor left character who was like pro Kevin Rudd. He was all of that stuff, and then he changed a bit like Kamala. He was told to change, and I think it was the right advice at the time.
At the time.
and he won an election out of it. So
Yep.
clearly, it was successful. But he needs to go back to being that.
He needs to
old
go back to
Albo.
being Albo.
Because he has it. He is
Yeah,
that
I agree with
character.
He
that.
has it.
He does have to go back. He has to
But
stop
that was
trying
like
to please everyone. I
5-6
think.
years ago.
It's not the pleasing. It's what you're talking about there. This is a Christopher Lash point. And you know what I found out? This is very interesting. John Howard, huge fan of Christopher Lash.
Who are these cunts? I don't know who that is.
Christopher Lash is... you don't know who John Howard is.
I know who John Howard is.
Do you know who?
But you know who John Howard is.
Yeah.
John
Do you know
Howard.
who
I've been
Kevin
talking
Nash
about Christopher Lash a lot recently. He's the
Right.
guy that wrote the book, Culture of Narcissism. He's a prolific.
Right.
He's kind of like an Ali figure. He understands the trends of history. He knows what's happening. And he said this in the 90s. He was saying there is rapidly an anti-elite sentiment. And he was the one that identified that the elite
All right.
is not.
Is this the book you're reading now,
billionaires.
by the way? No, this isn't the one with the sheep, is it?
No, but
right,
he's
right.
pretty much saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, go on.
The elite, as I've discussed on this podcast before, are not what you originally imagined in your head. It's not a bunch of guys at the boat shed, sipping Chardonnays, have a bunch of property investments, own
Yeah.
vineyards. That's not who the public thinks are elites. People think elites are public servants on a cushy salary. That's who they
Yes.
think is the elite class.
Yeah.
And they hate that.
Yeah.
They absolutely hate that. And John Howard was able to exploit that perfectly because he read Christopher Lash. And that was his whole shtick that entire time when he was giving huge amounts of wealth to the elite. He was sitting there saying, I'm taking on the elite. I'm taking
Right.
on bureaucracy. I'm taking on red tape.
Like
the
Mussolini.
elite. When they did
Just
like
like
Mussolini.
Mussolini.
I have
And-
a Marxist view of it, which is slightly different, but
Okay, for instance, how did they win the Republic debate? They won the Republic debate. John Howard, Tony Abbott, they all ran it by saying, look at who supports the monarchy. It's your
Yeah.
Malcolm Turnbull types. It's
Yeah.
your pork eating types. These Canberra
I
fops
mean, doesn't support
up
the
there.
monarchy.
Huh?
You said it supports.
It supports the Republic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
these Canberra types.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
exactly what they did with The Voice. Oh, all the Canberra types. Oh, it'll be more stuff for Canberra. But the reason you're voting no is to give a middle finger to Canberra. That's what you're doing. So while his Prime Minister is sitting there saying, give a middle finger to me. Yeah, I'd give myself a middle finger. Fuck me. That's how he's running.
Do you want to hear a little Marxist view on this? So firstly, the question that we're talking about is, why does the population of pretty much every country hit the center, right? That is the crux of the question. The Marxist view on this is, and you can agree or disagree with it, is I'll give you a quick historical context as well. America and the first world, like all the Western countries, became Western or became rich because they produced the best stuff, right? Everyone in the world was buying things from the US. This is pre-1970s, was buying stuff from Europe, and then during the war it slowed down, but after the war it resumed, and then later on it became Japan, and Japan became first world as a consequence. Around the 70s, the US model completely changed, where they became deficit country instead of surplus country. So all of the stuff that they were producing, other countries were producing it better than them, cheaper than them. And so for the first time, this superpower was actually a net importer of things. So what they did was they came up with this whole new ideology of economics, which is the neoliberal ideology of economics, which is we don't even need to be producing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
We need to be making money through service industry, Wall Street, or later on tech, whatever it might be. And that's so all of the money that everyone else is making. So if Japan is making a lot of money by selling us Toyota, we recycle that money in Wall Street.
Yeah.
So we keep getting the profits
Being the
of every
banks of
country,
the world.
and we become like essentially a casino. And so what that entailed was them propagating this view to the rest of the world that stop chasing after manufacturing, stop trying to make everything yourself. If some other country is making it better than you, import it from them, right? This was the ideology that both the center right and the center left adhered to, and part of it was their necessity. It wasn't that they had any other option. What else could they have done?
Yeah.
So it was a necessity for them. And what ended up happening as a result was that the income inequality in all these countries skyrocketed because the manufacturing base became unemployed.
That's who voted for Trump.
The people that were benefiting off the imports, the elite, started making more and more money. And so then you had this hollowing out of the working class in all of these countries. And the result of that was that they started hating anything that was centrist because it was pushing them towards the neoliberal model. That's why when Trump comes out and he says that all the jobs I'm going to bring back from China, I'm going to bring back from Mexico, whatever, he's never going to be able to do it because once the bullet leaves the gun, you can't pull the bullet back in, but it resonates with everyone else. And so what I'm trying to say is the neoliberal agenda is dead and it will never be revived again. If you want a future in politics, your ideology needs to be away from this. Whether it's left wing or right wing, that's something that you have to make a decision on what you think is right for the country. But the population hates the center for that reason.
Yeah.
We're hollowed out.
Are you sure they can't? He can't. You said it's impossible. It's not impossible.
At this point, in this current climate. I don't know what happens in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
I suspect that we're never going back to the neoliberal economic model again.
Well, when you
Part
say,
of it is
when you say
straight up the Cold War with China. That's going to curtail it.
when you say that, what do you mean the neoliberal?
It means that the extending
Wall
of
Street.
supply chains of critical manufacturing goods that were coming into all of these different countries being built offshore, particularly in China.
Yeah.
That era is dead now.
So you think populism is just the way it's going to go?
Well, dude, that's not even a... Look, I really hate these words like neoliberal and shit, but
no,
it is
you love
kind
them.
of just like...
You love them.
It's actually quite a classical economic theory, which is that you just let countries do what they're good at, and you do what you're good at, and then you just make trade kind of the centerpiece of everyone's policy.
But this is the part of this is the ideology that we were sold.
I know that's the
some
ideology that
cases
we're
it's
sold,
true,
but
but
that's straight up Adam Smith shit.
No,
Like-
dude, Adam Smith was different. Adam Smith, this market isn't free, dude.
No. I get the whole free market thing. That is a myth that Adam Smith was perpetuating. But something that he was saying was you should specialize.
Yeah,
You should specialize.
he did say that, and that is true for like. Anyways, that's a whole different.
But this
like,
is the whole
one of
thing.
the
Like, I
criticisms
don't
that
necessarily
neoliberals get
think
is that
that's
it's neither
not
new,
a
neither
bad
liberal.
thing. This is the thing that's very annoying about all of this stuff. Is like as soon as you start saying it, you say, "I understand how communists feel defending Russia now," but it's the same premise. It's like, look, that world could have been set up well. China did it well. I fervently argue that Australia did it well. Who did not do it well was the UK and the US. They did it badly. You can do this well. And it's a huge shame that this has become like this big boogeyman, because what is the alternative? That we sort of just turn into these fiefdoms again? That, like, you know, you're just producing your own shit and you make crap cars for your own population. And
No, dude. So the world is going to be divided in different spheres of influence. So countries like Australia,
I get that, yeah.
US, possibly Japan, and Western Europe, we're going to have our own neoliberal bubble, which is that we're going to be trading with each other. The problem with that is, which no one wants to tell you, is that this is a horrible free trade bloc because we all are competitors of each other. And the markets that we want to sell this to might be in a different block, which we might not have free trade with. In fact, we might be hostile towards them. We don't know what the future is, but it's not like every country for themselves, but there'll be blocks of countries that are going to be working together and blocks of countries that we're going to be opposing. The difference is that this division is not going to be based on what is economically most beneficial for us, but it'll be based on what, in terms of security, what is most beneficial for us.
That's not
which
good.
is bad for economics.
It's really
But
not
dude,
good.
like, you have to accept it, Jordan. I have been on like our listeners about like why we shouldn't have this beef with China, why economically it makes no sense for us to side with the US completely against China. But the decision is made. It's nothing is
The
changing.
die's cast.
And for security point of view, there is some credibility to the argument too. In that extreme super world war sense where every country is attacking each other, what happens? This security dimension is probably even good for us. So you have to accept this and adapt. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't, reminiscing is not going to help.
So you think populism's bad? That's what I'm hearing here.
I think generally, yes, because you can't control them, but you'd rather it be if you need to have a dictator, you'd rather it be a benevolent dictator rather than an oppressive dictator, is what I'm trying to argue here. And I'm saying that dictatorship is coming whether you like it or not. I don't
thought you
actually
liked
mean
dictators.
dictatorship.
I like it for
I'm
the same
using-
reason that he likes it.
What? Get shit done.
Get shit done.
Yeah.
Get shit done. But I understand Ali's big gripe with them, which is that what if a bad one is installed?
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
Exactly.
But ideally, I think that the best thing ever... Okay, for instance, if Paul Keating was installed as dictator, we'd be in a great place. If Kevin Rudd was installed as dictator, we'd be in a great place. You know?
But if Bob Catter was installed as dictator,
We'd be in an even better place.
the best place.
And
We'd
if
be in the
Paul,
best place.
All right, boys, we're over time. We had many more segments, including Jake Paul and Mike Tyson and the No
You
Sex
like that?
Movement or whatever. But
yeah.
unfortunately, we'll have to keep
As
it
if I
for
wasn't
next week.
scared enough.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone.
Look at it. It's got everything that he loves on it.
it's-
Guitars, chili, cactus, because it reminds him of old El Paso. All right. Let's
It's
end
the
this
future.
before we get banned.